you went in there shooting at Mom and Dad, what was your intention? What were you intending to do?
I guess I was attempting to kill him. Because I thought I wasn't the one.
Are you?
An attack on a Rains County family left a mother and her 2 sons dead and a father in the hospital. The victims were found in a burning house near Emory, 60 miles east of Dallas.
The crime has rocked the Rains County area. No one here can remember a tragedy of this magnitude or a crime this horrific.
Are you gonna hate me for revealing to you that I killed my entire family for my boyfriend? Indeed, this is the heinous Texas murder that shocked the country, destroyed a family, and restored the faith of one man. On the other hand, it's a case of an innocent crash that soon became a deadly infatuation. What pushed Erin Caffey into such an evil act, and was there any survival? Well, let's dive deep into this. Penny Caffey were bonded by their strong Baptist religion, which had brought them together since they first met at an evangelical meeting in Texas, when she was 21 and he was 24. Together, Terry and his wife Penny have 3 kids, but Erin, who was 16, was the only daughter and the eldest of them all. Tyler and Matthew, the boys, were 8 and 13 years old. Meanwhile, Terry was a pastor, and the Caffey family was quite active in their church. Erin was a soloist and choir member at her church. There are rumors that Erin's voice could occasionally bring the congregation to tears. Erin's 18-year-old lover, Charlie Wilkinson, was the outward manifestation of her rebellious phase. Erin's parents were first a little wary of him, as any parent would be. Some people felt that Terry and Penny Caffey were unduly protective of their daughter. When she was 13, her family relocated from Celeste, a tiny town an hour's drive away, to Alba, where she started homeschooling. Apparently, Terry remembered that the first time Charlie was invited over for supper, he had a negative impression right away. The first thing Terry said to him was, "You must be Charlie." He answered, "And you are?" in response. Why would he greet an elderly man in such a manner? Was he actually indicating himself at an equal level with Erin's father? This didn't seem like too big of a deal at first, even with the nasty response. Charlie kept going to supper with the Caffey family and even went to church with them. This may appear to be a simple retort or a harmless act of disobedience, but it represents a serious manifestation of Charlie's antisocial tendencies. Any normal adolescent would have been more cautious and courteous at 18, especially since it was his first time meeting his girlfriend's parents. Erin might have played a part in Charlie's arrogance and lack of confidence. Nevertheless, Erin might have been criticizing her family in front of Charlie. This could also be the cause of Charlie's haughty demeanor upon arrival. Terry and Penny observed Erin's behavior changing over time. Charlie was the only one who could get through to her. After church, they would frequently withdraw from the other attendees, and occasionally they would make public demonstrations of affection that were deemed improper for a Sunday service. However, her parents made an effort to sabotage it by limiting the amount of time the pair spent together. To ensure that they would be around to oversee, they established regulations like Charlie hanging around at their house. On school nights, he was to leave by 9 in the evening, but Erin could keep talking to him on her cell phone until 10 p.m. But this didn't stop their rapidly growing romance, and Charlie got Erin a promise ring. Penny put her foot down and demanded that the two cease dating when it became evident that the relationship would only bring problems going forward. Their goal was to protect their daughter, but they had no idea how dangerous things were going to get. Terry had seen things that looked right out of a horror movie the night he crawled to his neighbor's house. The Caffey family was sound asleep when a loud bang and other loud bangs were coming from Terry and Penny's bedroom door. The guns were fired this time. The room they had been sleeping in quietly only moments before was filled with bullets. Terry and Penny both took multiple gunshot wounds. Terry identified the gun-wielding attacker. It was Charlie, Erin's boyfriend. He was accompanied by a friend who was later identified as Charles Wade. They were holding 2 huge swords in addition to weapons. Terry heard his son Matthew yell, "Why are you doing this, Charlie?" while he lay still in his bedroom. There were more gunshots after that. Nevertheless, Wade had struck Matthew in the face. Swords were used in these murders, which adds to their awful quality. It's almost as if Charlie and his companion Charles Wade were relishing the act, acting as though they were the bad guys in a movie, or perhaps they believed they were the heroes. But what could be the reason for Charlie killing an entire family? Charlie and Wade might have killed these people with just their guns. They could have achieved their goals without the use of swords, demonstrating their incredibly terrible intentions. Additionally, it suggests that the two males were somewhat satisfied after the process. When Tyler was just 8 years old, he used to hide in closet corners. The small boy's fear, knowing he would be the next victim if they found him, must have been unfathomable as he saw his family mercilessly slaughtered by his sister's boyfriend. Sadly, Wade and Charlie discovered him in the closet. With their swords, the two fatally stabbed Tyler. Charlie then returned to Erin's parents' bedroom, where he almost severed Penny's head by stabbing her in the neck with a sword. After they were certain they had killed everyone, the two drove off, setting the house on fire. Terry escaping the flaming house unscathed was not something they ever anticipated. Meanwhile, Terry has been experiencing this horrible experience in fits and starts. Terry persisted in fighting for his life to reach his neighbors and leave the house. In Alba, everyone knew one another. The police soon tracked Charlie down after Terry identified the murderer. Since he was a friend of Kurt Fisher's son, the chief constable was actually familiar with him. Charlie's car was parked at Matthew Wade's single-wide caravan when Fisher arrived at the crime scene and recognized it. Charles's elder brother, Matthew, turned his home into a hangout for Charles and his pals, following a wild night out. Matthew allowed the police to enter the house when Fisher arrived, but he couldn't remember if Charlie had spent the night there or not. When the cops went inside, they saw a jumble of soiled clothing and empty beer cans. It was the officers searching for Charlie that woke Wade and his girlfriend. Fisher found a door frame that had been covered with a blanket while exploring the house. When he went to draw back the covers, he found Charlie lying on a mattress with a rifle beside him. Charlie was taken outside by Fisher, who requested him to show him his hands before informing him of the events of the previous evening involving the Caffey family. Charlie eventually denied having anything to do with it, saying he was inebriated that evening and dozed off. Charlie only had on blue jeans, so cops went inside to get him a shirt and some shoes. They discovered blood splatters as they removed his garments. Meanwhile, firefighters were still fighting to put out the fire that had consumed the Caffey residence as he was being hauled away in the back of a squad car. The house burned down completely despite their best attempts, but the bodies were finally found. A purse containing Erin's driver's license, bullet casings, ammunition, and a used condom were found by the police when they investigated the trailer. An officer observed a mound of blonde hair peeking out of one of the junk mounds and grabbed it, thinking it was a doll as he started to tear away at the piles. Shockingly, it was a young teenager who was facing away from the police and was lying in a fetal position. She did not even react when the police asked her to get up and show her hands to him. Her driver's license allowed him to recognize her. Erin was there. Immediately, Erin asked her where she was right away and said she couldn't recall how she got there. She said she hadn't had much information to give the police because she'd been drugged the previous evening. Additionally, she said she remembered drinking something, 2 men in black with swords and a fire. She couldn't recall anything after the drink. Her recollections from earlier in the evening were likewise hazy. Unfortunately, Erin's family member passing away was such a difficult incident that the police sympathized with her and complimented her for her courage. But as events unfolded at the station, it became apparent that this was untrue. Terry felt sure he already understood Charlie's intent. It seems that he was seeking retribution for Penny's refusal to let Erin visit him. Charlie, on the other hand, told the story of his willingness to sacrifice all for the girl he loved, not of his anger. He stated that he wasn't seeking retribution for killing the Caffey family. Erin requested him to, so he did it.
When you went there shooting at Mom and Dad, what was your intention? What were you intending to do?
I guess I was attempting to kill him. Because I thought I wasn't done.
Wait a minute. Did Erin ask Charlie to kill her family? Why on earth would she do that? And for what reason?
I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Okay.
And she told me that she was gonna hire somebody to go out there and kill her parents.
When they got back to the station, Charlie was very open. He wouldn't reveal the identity of his collaborator at first, but ultimately, he gave in. He finally gave in that Charles Wade was the one. Charlie seemed honest when he stated, "I'm very sorry for what I did."
The whole interview has been about you apologizing for what you did.
Oh, I did. And I'm very sorry for what I did.
But his tone came out as matter of fact, as if he was going to kill people regardless of the consequences, or as though it was unavoidable. It's remarkable how individuals with any kind of social personality can conduct heinous crimes and then profess to uphold moral values like honoring promises. "A promise was made and I can't break it," Charlie remarked. Charlie might have said this in this particular situation, though, as a way to get out from under the name. Nonetheless, Charlie seemed to talk with loyalty and, strangely enough, conviction. Charlie might have been attempting to appear morally upright, or as if he was doing the right thing in front of the investigation. Meanwhile, Wade had consented to assist his pal in carrying out the killings, since Erin and Charlie had offered him $2,000. The $2,000 were in the Caffey residence's lockbox. Wade was readily persuaded, planning to use the funds for legal bills to support his daughter's custody application. His plot to kill 4 people and set a house on fire would turn out not to be the best course of action. During their interrogations, the guys were very honest about their actions, even pointing to the police where they had hidden their evidence, in the river and beneath the bridge. According to the boys, Wade's girlfriend Bobby Johnson drove Erin, Wade, and Charlie to the Caffey residence. Wade alleges that although Bobby was unaware of their plan, she persisted in going along. They didn't stay at the Caffey home for very long until the family dog, who started barking loudly right away, scared them away. Erin was determined to see her plan through to the end. In the wee hours of the morning, she contacted Charlie over and over, demanding that he return and murder her parents. The teenage boys were still concerned, but she assured them that she would bring the dog inside so it wouldn't wake anyone. Erin therefore sneaked away with them. After Bobby took the 3 of them to a cemetery, they plotted the Caffey family's killings for an hour. Charlie claimed that he made several attempts to negotiate with Erin and advised her to run away with him. But however, she was adamant that she wanted her parents to be gone forever, and that she also wanted her younger brothers slain. She claimed they were bothersome and that they made fun of her. Due to their meticulous planning, a sequence of events illustrates the severity of Erin and Charlie's antisocial personality disorder. This was most definitely not an enraged or spur-of-the-moment murder. The killings were meticulously planned out by 2 individuals who lack empathy and most likely conscience. The idea of causing pain to her family and subjecting her parents and 2 brothers to such a horrific ordeal, a murder done in the manner of an execution, did not seem to bother Erin. Erin most likely had a long-standing animosity towards her family, or was so psychopathically inclined that she genuinely just wanted them to get out of her way and didn't mind ending her brothers' and parents' lives. Given that even the most vicious psychopath in history tends to target strangers, this is probably any social personality at its most extreme. The most deadly sociopaths are those who plot, carry out, and not only murder, but commit murder against their own family in such a vicious way. The phrase, menace to society, actually describes someone like Erin because, if she could arrange for something similar to occur within her own family, just think of how terrible her actions towards strangers could have been. In their scheme, Wade was supposed to kill them, and Charlie was supposed to kill her parents. They nearly succeeded in their goal when they broke into the house brandishing 2 samurai swords and a .22 caliber handgun, had Terry not lived. Charlie seemed to be most affected by Wade's order to force the children to emerge from the locked chamber where they were hiding that evening. When Erin's younger brother, Matthew, tried to fight off Charlie, Wade shot him right away. Charlie did stab Tyler once, but he claimed he couldn't handle killing him. This could be seen as regret, but it could equally just be an emotional outburst because he was apprehended and put in jail. Charlie seemed sorry during the interview, but it's hard to know for sure how sorry he is. When discovered, individuals with antisocial personality disorder frequently cry and profess regret. However, since Charlie was already in jail, it's possible that he organized this phone conversation in an attempt to tactically assert his innocence. Moreover, he was aware that he would probably face harsh accusations. While they were plotting these killings, Charlie and Erin had plenty of opportunity to demonstrate genuine regret. They had a window of opportunity to realize how terrible what they were doing was. However, the problem with sociopaths is that their primary goal is to fulfill their desires. A transaction is just a means to an end. In Charlie and Erin's case, it appears that all they had to do was put the puzzle pieces together to successfully orchestrate the circumstances that would lead to their murders. Before the killings, Brandon claimed to have seen Charlie, characterizing him as happy-go-lucky.
When I seen Charlie on Thursday, he didn't show like he was going to do anything. I mean, he was just happy-go-lucky.
His attitude might have been influenced by the fact that everything was pre-arranged and the murders were already planned. Brandon added the same thing about Bobby and Charles. Considering that this group was going to break into a house, murder a family, and then set the house on fire. This is extremely strange, to put it mildly. Charles and Bobby May were thrilled to get the money that was promised to them for their cooperation, and Erin and Charlie were anxious to see their plan come to fruition. Wade remembered Erin's excitement as they got back in the car with her suitcase packed. She provided them with the combination to the lockbox containing the money as soon as she received their confirmation that her family had vanished. Additionally, they took the entire $400 that was in Terry and Penny's wallets. Then, using pocket lighters, they set blankets and furniture on fire while driving away in Bobby's car and saw the house catch fire. "Holy shit, that was awesome," exclaimed Erin, and expressed to them her relief. Wade claimed during his interrogation that Erin was joyful like a child on Christmas. They went to the river and threw the swords, the bloody boots, and Erin's baggage into a box. They intended to return for these things. Eventually, Bobby arrived at Matthew Wade's caravan to drop off Erin and Charlie. They shared a bed as a way to celebrate finishing their task. Upon being questioned, Bobby pretended not to know anything about it. When she discovered that the two boys were already in the police's custody, she finally broke and admitted to everything. Erin persisted in her claim that she couldn't recall anything, even though Wade, Charlie, and Bobby were all providing accounts that supported one another. However, her toxicology report's results had just been received. She had no symptoms of smoke inhalation, and no drug use was detected in her system. Terry was back in the hospital, and he was getting better even though everything was against him. In addition to breaking his nose and suffering from nerve damage in his right arm, he had shattered both of his cheekbones. Upon being questioned by detectives, he inquired about his daughter's role in their family's killings. Terry was quite involved in what they said, and it was one of those earth-shattering sentences that would make her pain even greater. Without delay, he let forth a dejected cry. That his darling little kid could have done something so horrible was unfathomable. He broke down once more when told he couldn't return home because he had nothing. He has no one to go home to, no place to call home. He continued to live out the nightmare that had become his reality while staying with his sister. Apparently, Erin was taken into custody, although she sobbed and denied any involvement. As she was underage, she could not be questioned right away. The 16-year-old girl, who was petite and blonde, was not the person they had assumed was the mastermind behind the horrific plan to kill her family. She declined to talk to investigators and insisted on writing a statement in its place. She persisted in telling her story, though. Erin was detained for murder after being sent to a juvenile correctional facility. Terry went to see Erin at the juvenile detention facility, but he was unable to ask her any questions, like why she had done such a horrible thing, because their entire conversation was videotaped and might be used against her in court. Nevertheless, investigators had shown him every piece of evidence, so he was aware of all the unsettling details. Terry went even though he had every reason to quit seeing Erin. On January 2nd, 2009, Erin was found guilty of capital murder and given 2 consecutive life terms, plus an additional 25 years. Due to their misdeeds, Charlie and Wade were both sentenced to life in jail without the chance of release. In addition, Bobby received a 40-year sentence. Terry continues to see Erin as of right now. He even advocates for her early release. He still finds it hard to accept that his daughter could be capable of such a thing, even after viewing the evidence. She has given him several accounts of what happened the night the Caffey family was murdered. She informed him in one that Charlie desired their deaths, and she tried to persuade him out of it when she called him that evening. Terry thinks Erin wasn't really certain Charlie would carry out the acts. He had no idea that Erin had attempted to use other people before Charlie to carry out her scheme. Erin's ex-boyfriend alleged that during their courtship, Erin had asked him to commit the same crime. Her previous partner was not prepared to go to the same extent as Charlie to win her happiness. He was advised to leave right away since he believed she was insane. This information provides additional insight into Erin's extreme psychopathy. She was probably a very cunning person, especially when it came to her partners. She might have employed a variety of deceitful strategies, like pressuring her ex-boyfriend to do this so he could keep her happy. She might have also taken a similar tack with Charlie because in the recording of the interrogation, Charlie sounded almost like he had to do what he did, but he also seemed sorry. This detail about Erin also, of course, shows that she had been planning this for a long time, which means that while she was living with them, attending church with them, and enjoying dinners, she was also planning the murders of her brothers and parents. She was able to maintain these deplorable feelings about her family while dealing with them regularly, which highlights the seriousness of her antisocial nature. Her capacity to act in this way, despite wanting to see them die, demonstrates her strong emotional attachment, lack of empathy, and lack of moral conscience. Thankfully, Terry remarried shortly after the killings and had one additional biological kid. 3 children were also adopted by him and his new wife. In addition to starting the Forgiveness Project, he penned Terror by Night, the true story of the brutal Texas murder that destroyed a family, restored one man's faith, and shocked the nation. Erin is 32 years old this year, and she will not be eligible for parole for another 30 years. Charles Wade and Charlie Wilkinson will spend the remainder of their lives behind bars as a result of their heinous actions. What do you think about this case? What would you do if you were in Terry's shoes? Let's hear from you in the comments section below. Don't forget to check out any of our videos displayed on your screen with just a click. See you in our next video.